My husband's ex-wife tried to sabotage our wedding and ended up losing everything. My husband, Mark, and I have been together for 5 wonderful years, married for 6 months. Our story, like many, has its share of bumps, but none quite as dramatic as the one involving his ex-wife, Sarah. Before I met Mark, he had been married to Sarah for 10 years. Their divorce was acrimonious, primarily due to Sarah's infidelity and her subsequent attempts to alienate their 2 children, Emily and Josh, from Mark. Despite the court granting Mark generous visitation and shared custody, Sarah made every effort to undermine their relationship, often bad-mouthing Mark in front of the kids and forgetting to tell them about his calls or planned visits. It was a constant battle, and Mark was emotionally drained when I met him. I understood, coming into the relationship, that children and an ex-wife would be a part of our lives. I embraced it. I work hard to build a good relationship with Emily and Josh, who were 8 and 10 when I first met them. They were wonderful, sweet kids, clearly caught in the middle of their parents' conflict. I never badmouthed Sarah, always encouraging them to have a relationship with their mother, despite her actions. I believed in taking the high road, even when Sarah made it incredibly difficult. She would often call Mark multiple times a day, sometimes just to complain about trivial matters, other times to demand money beyond what was stipulated in the divorce agreement. She'd show up unannounced at his apartment, claiming she needed to drop something off for the children, but really just trying to assert her presence. It was clear she hadn't moved on. Our engagement, 2 years into our relationship, seemed to escalate Sarah's behavior. Up until then, she had maintained a veneer of civility, albeit a thin one, around me. She would be polite, if somewhat frosty, at school functions or children's sporting events. But the engagement changed everything. The civility evaporated. She started sending Mark increasingly aggressive texts and emails, accusing him of trying to replace her, of being a terrible father for moving on, and of putting me before their children. She even told the children that I was trying to take their father away from them, which understandably upset them and led to some difficult conversations. Mark, bless his heart, was a rock. He reassured the children, gently corrected Sarah's narratives, and always prioritized their well-being. He also set firmer boundaries with Sarah, limiting contact to essential communication regarding the children and blocking her number from calling him directly, redirecting her to email day as our wedding date approached. Sarah's attempts to disrupt our lives became more frequent and desperate. She knew our wedding date and venue, as it was necessary for child custody arrangements. One evening, about 3 months before the wedding, we received an anonymous email filled with terrible accusations about Mark. It claimed he was abusive, a serial cheater, and only marrying me for my money, which was laughable, as Mark makes significantly more than I do. The email was sent to all our invited guests, our families, and even some of our colleagues. It was clearly Sarah's doing. We immediately knew. The tone, the specific false accusations, the timing, it all pointed to her. We spent days contacting everyone, explaining the situation, and reassuring them. Our families were incredibly supportive, having witnessed Sarah's behavior firsthand for years. Many of our friends already knew about her antics. It was embarrassing and upsetting, but it also solidified our resolve. We weren't going to let her win. Mark consulted with his lawyer, who advised him to document everything. Every text, every email, every incident. This was crucial advice, as it turned out. We decided not to engage with Sarah directly about the email, letting her assume she had caused maximum damage. Our wedding planning continued, albeit with a heightened sense of vigilance. We hired extra security for the venue, just in case. We also had a contingency plan for the children's care on the wedding day, ensuring they would be with a trusted family member away from any potential drama. The week of the wedding arrived, a flurry of last-minute preparations and nervous excitement. 2 days before the wedding, Sarah struck again. She filed an emergency motion with the court, alleging that Mark was an unfit parent and demanding sole custody of the children, effectively trying to prevent him from seeing them or having them at the wedding. Her claims were wild and unsubstantiated. She accused him of neglect, emotional abuse, and even putting the children in danger by exposing them to my reckless lifestyle. I'm a librarian, My lifestyle is hardly reckless. It was a blatant attempt to derail our wedding, and it sent us into a tailspin. Mark's lawyer immediately sprang into action. They filed a counter-motion, citing Sarah's history of malicious behavior and presenting all the documented evidence we had diligently collected: the incessant calls, the aggressive emails, the anonymous smear campaign email, and her consistent attempts to obstruct Mark's visitation rights. The judge, who had presided over their divorce, was already familiar with Sarah's patterns. A hearing was scheduled for the morning of our wedding day. Yes, the morning of our wedding day. It was beyond stressful. We barely slept. That morning, Mark, his lawyer, and I arrived at the courthouse. Sarah was there, looking smug, accompanied by her own lawyer. The air was thick with tension. Sarah's lawyer presented her case, repeating the outlandish accusations. Then it was Mark's lawyer's turn. He systematically dismantled Sarah's claims, presenting the evidence. He showed the court records of Sarah's past contempt of court for obstructing visitation, the anonymous email sent to our wedding guests, and even a screenshot of a threatening text message Sarah had sent to Mark just weeks prior, stating she would make him regret marrying me. The judge listened patiently. Then, he delivered his verdict. He dismissed Sarah's emergency motion, citing a lack of credible evidence and a clear pattern of harassment. But he didn't stop there. He then turned his attention to Sarah's behavior. He found her in contempt of court for filing a frivolous motion with malicious intent, and for her continued pattern of parental alienation. He ordered her to pay all of Mark's legal fees, which were substantial. More significantly, he modified the custody agreement. Given Sarah's repeated attempts to undermine Mark's relationship with his children and her latest stunt, the judge awarded Mark full physical custody of Emily and Josh. Sarah would now have supervised visitation, meaning she could only see her children with a court-appointed supervisor present. He also issued a restraining order, prohibiting Sarah from contacting Mark or me directly, except through a co-parenting app specifically for logistical discussions about the children. Sarah was stunned. Her face went from smug to utter shock, then to rage. She started yelling in the courtroom, accusing the judge of bias and Mark of manipulating the system. Her lawyer tried to calm her down, but she wouldn't stop. The bailiffs had to escort her out. Mark and I just stood there, shell-shocked. It was an overwhelming mix of relief, exhaustion, and a strange sense of vindication. We had won, but at what a cost to our emotions, and to the children who would undoubtedly be affected by this drastic change. We left the courthouse, Mark clutching a stack of legal documents, both of us numb. We had about 5 hours until our wedding ceremony. We called our families to update them. Everyone was overjoyed and relieved, but also worried about the children. We knew this was going to be a massive adjustment for Emily and Josh, and we were prepared to give them all the love and support they needed. Despite the morning's drama, our wedding ceremony was beautiful and emotional. Knowing what we had just been through made every moment feel even more precious. We were surrounded by love and support, and the presence of Emily and Josh, beaming in their roles as junior bridesmaid and ring bearer, made it perfect. They were with us, they were safe, and they were happy. The aftermath, of course, was complicated. Sarah's world crumbled. She lost custody, was facing significant legal bills, and her reputation was in tatters. She tried to appeal the judge's decision, but it was denied. The restraining order meant she couldn't even directly express her fury to us. Her supervised visits with the children were infrequent and strained. Emily and Josh, while initially confused and upset by the changes, quickly adapted to living full-time with us. They thrived in a stable, peaceful environment. We made sure they had access to therapy to help them process everything, and we continuously reassured them of our love and commitment. It's been 6 months since that dramatic wedding day. Our life with Emily and Josh is wonderful. They are happy, well-adjusted, and flourishing in school. Mark is a fantastic father, and I've embraced my role as their stepmother, loving them as my own. Sarah's attempts to disrupt our lives have effectively ceased. She occasionally tries to stir up trouble through the co-parenting app, but Mark's lawyer handles it swiftly. Her actions, intended to destroy our happiness, ultimately led to her losing everything she claimed to value. It was a harsh lesson for her, but one that brought peace and stability to our family. We often look back at our wedding day and marvel at how we navigated such a storm. It certainly wasn't the fairy tale wedding we envisioned, but it was, in its own way, a testament to our strength, our love, and our unwavering commitment to each other and to the children. We came out of it stronger, more united, and deeply grateful for the family we have built.